Hi, so today we're gonna set up a new Active Directory forest and domain controller on Windows Server 2022. So assuming that you already completed the installation of your Windows Server, either on a VM or a bare metal, there are a couple of prerequisites that we need to take care of first. So let's hop in on our server. Um, Most likely you'll be greeted with this server manager. You can dismiss this for now. And we will first click on local server. And most important thing is to select your time zone. Make sure that it matches the one in your area. I'm gonna pick mine right now just to make things much easier for us. So it's +2 Athens. Okay, now that's that. The next important thing that we need to take care of is set up our static IP. It will become important later on and I'm gonna explain why. But first let's see what IPs we have available. I'm gonna pull up my Angry AP scanner. All right, let's have a look what we have available. If we remember, this is our Pi-hole from the previous video. I'm gonna copy this IP and we will head over. Okay, it's not working, so let's do it manually. 192.168.2.23. What was it? Boy, 252. Preferred DNS. If you remember, we used this for our Pi-hole, so we're gonna leave it as it is. Mask it's correct. That one, it's our default gateway. I'll click OK, and we will close everything down. This should change, hopefully. And maybe we need to restart, or maybe we're missing some important updates. Let's see. Yep, so let's get rid of those real fast. Okay, so now everything is sorted. We should probably set a computer name to be easier for us to identify stuff later on. So let's say let's give it a random name. Don't judge. It is what it is. Of course, we need to restart. Okay, so we're done for now. So a small recap. After you obviously install your Windows Server on your server manager, first make sure you adjust your time zone. Make sure you change to a static IPv4. Make sure you change the computer name. And we did it at the beginning, but it's always good to download the updates, the latest updates we did beforehand. Now to continue, we will click on dashboard And you can do this two ways. You can add roles and features from here, or you can click manage or add roles and features from manage, but it's the same thing. So either way, you're gonna have this greeting window. And if you read through it, it will tell you this wizard will install the roles, services, and features. The installation type should be role-based or feature-based installation. Server selection, it will automatically select the server uh, that you have the Windows Server installed on it. Then on server roles, we will add Active Directory domain services. And of course, once selected, it will also add all the prerequisite and all the features that comes into it. So we'll click on add features. Um, we can obviously select more, but for now we just need this part of it. So Active Directory, if you have an Azure, you can do that, but we are doing it on a VM. Next part is confirmation. We will click install, and then we will wait for all the features to be installed. So the installation is completed. Obviously, if you read here, there is additional configuration is required. So we will click close this window for now. And here we have notifications where we need to post deploy configure our server. So we can promote the server to a domain controller. And here we will start to add the necessary information. So since this is a new domain in a brand new forest, we will click add a new forest. And be careful what you choose here, because this will become the root domain name. So we do have our server which is named crowd control. Now we will do a crowd control, or maybe first ad dot from Active Directory crowdcontrol.com, and we will hit next. So on our domain controller options, we can choose the forest functional level and the domain functional level from Windows Server 2016. That will include 2019 and 2022. I couldn't get yet a license for 2025, but that should suffice for what we're going to do. Now we will have to create a strong password for our DSRM, which will become more important when we will have to put the server on restore mode. Usually, when you try to migrate from a bare metal to a cloud or vice versa, you kind of need this DSRM to make your life easier if the migration fail. So go ahead and choose a password, a strong password, I might add. Um, Make sure it's the same. Save it somewhere, obviously not on your desktop. Or make sure you keep a hold of this. I'll click next. So on the DNS option page, just click next. This warning is normal, it always shows. But if you're doing already a domain controller, I'm pretty sure you already have a firewall, you already have a infrastructure, you already have your DNS being resolved by your firewall. So let's click next. The NetBIOS name usually starts with your domain name AD, Active Directory. You can change it, but it's an 8-character name, so you could leave it as it is, or you can add something else to be able to differentiate on your network neighborhood. but we'll say AD crowd, and we will click next. Obviously, in your case, you can choose whatever you like. Now we need to specify the location of the database. Usually we always leave it by default unless you have different drives where you want to separate your database from your log files and your sys volume file. But usually the best practice is to leave it as it is. I'm gonna click on next. Now we have a review of all the selection we've made so far. And we will click next. We will have prerequisite check, and after that we're good to go. So right off the bat, they're telling us what will be installed extra. We will click install and we will let it run. And you've seen already at the logon screen that the domain was promoted, AD crowd. Now we will wait for the dashboard to be populated, and we will have our ACDC here, AD, sorry, DC. Okay, so we are in, everything has been installed. We don't have any errors, no task details. Let's go back to the dashboard, and we do have a warning. This can be solved by manually starting. Hopefully it will start on its own next time. But right now everything is good to go. We have the DNS, but we don't need to do anything specific right now. It always comes with the installation. So on that front, for now, we are good to go and move to our next step. If you got this far, congratulations, but there are a couple of things that we first need to do for security reasons. Now, obviously, depending on your organization group policies, you might follow a different path. But if you are the head of IT or the CTO of the company, you'll most likely have to do this next step. So first in line, we will have to rename and disable the built-in administrator account. And the way to do that is we will click on Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers, and under our forest we will go to Users, and as we can see we have the administrator account. What we're gonna do is copy, and we will do, for the sake of example, I'm gonna do don't judge. We'll choose Groot. I'll click next. Make sure you put a strong password. Password never expires. We will click next and finish. Now next we will sign out of this account. And log into our fresh new administrator. Give it a second to load. We'll leave it for now as it is, and we will go back into Active Directory users and computers. I'll go back to users. We will rename. And then we will disable the count. Now the reason we are doing this, since it's a built-in administrator, it is also the main administrator of the forest and the active directory and the domain controller. So we are making sure that by default we are disabling this account, because guess what? If somebody tries to get in, that's the first thing they're gonna try. They will try administrator and then probably a password cracker to try to get into your domain. Now, next in line is to create organization units for our domain controller. And to do that, it's very simply, we're gonna right click on our domain controller, new organizational unit. And first we will do OU users and click next. So next we will do another one. So a new organizational unit, and we will do OU admins, and we will create another one. For computers, because later on you're gonna add your company's or organization computers into the domain controller, which will be a video on its own. Now, guess what? Since we have our first user, we will move it into our freshly created organization unit container admins. And you might ask, why do we do this? Well, the built-in Active Directory containers, the limitations are that you cannot apply group policies, right? So if you have your organizational units that we just created, and the definition is by all means the ones in the name, the purpose and the advantages is that you can apply group policies, and they support delegation of control that will enable administrators to assign specific administrative rights over different sections of the directory. So even though we have users, those users can be later on split up um, depending on your company's needs, right? You might have different departments. You're going to have marketing, you're going to have sales, you're going to have back office, compliance, so on and so forth. So each individual, let's say, department might have a different set of group policies. So that's why we are trying to separate and make everything easier for us later down the line. Okay, so next in line is to configure the site and services. I'll click on Tools, Active Directory, Sites and Services. And we have the default first name. Rename this to something meaningful. And since we have crowd control, we will do a CCHQ. Now we're gonna associate an IP subnet with our site. New subnet. And if we remember our IP, We will select the object for this prefix. We will click OK. And if this is set up properly, you will thank me later. So far, so good. If you followed so far and you haven't encountered any errors, that means you have followed it through and through. We have a domain controller. We managed to create our organizational units, users, administrators, and computers. And for now, we should be fine. Thank you all for putting up with the slow explanation. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you dislike, and I'm hoping to see you next time.